In the far reaches of the north, where the wind bites and the sun forgets to rise, there lies a land not ruled by man, but by mist. The marshlands, cold, damp, endless. A place where even trees hold their breath, and the ground itself seems to sigh beneath your feet. To the Norse, these bogs were more than dangerous. They were alive. Not with beasts or storms, but with ghosts. Spirits born of betrayal, sorrow, and drowning silence. They are called Blautmyr, the drowned ones, and they are always waiting. Beneath the reeds, beneath the water, not to scream, not to chase, but to whisper. So soft, so familiar, you might not even know you're following them. Until the earth disappears, and you are swallowed whole, just like the countless others before you. Welcome to the marsh. Listen closely. It's already calling your name.
The name Blautmyr comes from Old Norse, blaut meaning wet or soaked, and myr meaning bog or marsh. But what it truly represents is far more than water and moss. It is a name whispered with dread, a warning passed from tongue to tongue in hushed fireside stories. For within the stillness of the northern bogs lie spirits, twisted not by evil but by injustice. The Blautmyr are said to be the souls of those who met their end in the most desolate way imaginable, violently, suddenly, and forgotten. Betrayed warriors left to bleed out in the mud after ambush, innocent maidens who fled into the wetlands and were never found, unbaptized infants discarded in secret, travelers who trusted the wrong guide. Every Blautmyr death shares two traits: isolation and unrest. In Norse belief, a soul could only pass peacefully to the next realm if it was properly honored in death. The dead needed rituals, a burial mound, the burning of the body, offerings to the gods. But the marsh offers no fire, no stone, no priest, only silence. Those who died in the bogs were denied the rites that would release them. Instead, the cold, wet earth swallowed their names, their stories, their justice. And so the Blautmyr remained, not as corpses, but as echoes, twisted by longing, poisoned by abandonment. The marsh became their tomb and their curse. Trapped between the world of the living and the dead, they began to change. No longer helpless victims, they became hunters. Their sorrow fermented into malice, their silence into song. From this prison of water and root, the Blautmyr rose, not to rest, but to drag others down and remind the world they were never laid to rest at all. The Blautmyr is not bound to a single form. It is a shapeshifter, a master of illusion shaped by memory, desire, and grief. Its face is never the same twice, for it chooses its form based on what you fear or what you long to see again. Some say the Blautmyr appears as a breathtaking woman, pale as bone, with long wet hair trailing behind her like riverweed. Her dress clings like a second skin, heavy with water. Her eyes shine with sorrow, and her lips tremble with a mournful lullaby. She walks barefoot through the mist, lost, cold, calling for help in a voice that tugs at your soul. A damsel in distress? Or a snare dressed in longing? Others describe a child, small, shivering, barely clothed. Bare feet sink into the muck as it sobs, reaching out to strangers, whispering, "Please, don't leave me here." Few can resist the urge to approach. Fewer still return. But if you look closely, closer than your heart wants to, you will see the truth beneath the illusion. Her skin isn't pale, it's waterlogged, sagging in places like the bark of a drowned tree. That lovely hair? It's matted with mud, threaded with insects. The child's eyes are too dark, not brown, not blue, just black, deep, empty. Their smiles are wrong, too wide, curling upward in a way no living face should. And their hands, oh their hands, too long, too thin, fingers like roots searching for something to pull down. Their beauty is bait, their sorrow, a mask. The Blautmyr does not weep for itself, it does not want rescue, it wants to share its fate, it does not seek comfort, it seeks company, deep in the mud, in the silence, beneath the water where no one screams and no one sleeps. The Blautmyr is patient. It does not roam the earth in daylight or shout its presence from the shadows. Instead, it waits, silent and still like the marsh itself. It begins its hunt only after nightfall, when the mist rises like breath from the wet ground and the moon casts pale shapes on the water. That's when the marsh awakens, and the Blautmyr begins to sing. The song is never the same. To one ear it may sound like a gentle lullaby, to another, a mother's humming, or a lover's favorite melody. It's said that the Blautmyr can mimic the voice of someone you've lost, or someone you miss most dearly. Some say it speaks your name, not once but over and over, as if your absence causes it pain. Soft, familiar, impossible to ignore. And then from the fog, a shape appears. A lone woman in white, soaked to the skin, stumbling through the reeds. Or a crying child, barefoot and confused, limping toward you through the dark. Their voice quivers, their eyes plead. And you step off the path. You tell yourself it's just a few steps, just close enough to see, just close enough to help. But the marsh is never still. The more you move, the more it pulls. The Blautmyr does not rush, it leads. One step, then another, each one deeper than the last, each one further from the world you knew. The mud thickens, the trees vanish, the stars blur above you. And then silence, the ground disappears. Water rises to your chest, then your chin. Cold fingers grasp your ankle from below. A soft voice whispers in your ear, "Stay." By the time you scream, it's already too late. The bog has claimed you. And the Blautmyr? It simply sinks away, vanishing into the black water, until the next lonely traveler hears a song they think they recognize. The Blautmyr leaves no footprints, no screams, no bones to bury, only stories, passed between trembling lips, spoken in whispers around campfires, and warned from mother to child. Echoes of those who strayed too close and never came back. One tale tells of a hunter, bold and boastful, who pursued a ghostly white deer into the northern wetlands at dusk. He swore to his companions that the creature was no ordinary stag, that it shimmered in the fog like moonlight made flesh. They never saw him again. Days later, his hunting horn was found, cracked, waterlogged, tangled in reeds. His hounds were discovered circling the bog's edge, whining, and refusing to step a single paw into the mire. Another story speaks of a young maiden, grieving the loss of her brother, drowned years earlier during a storm. One evening, as she wandered alone by the edge of the marsh, she heard him calling her name from within the mist. "Come home," he said. "You don't have to be alone anymore." They say she followed the voice in tears, calling his name until it was swallowed by the fog. Some claim they've seen her still, wandering the water's edge, her hand clutching another's. But the shape beside her doesn't match her brother. It's taller, hollow-eyed, smiling. Old travelers speak of strange things, footsteps behind them when the path is empty, children laughing where no village ever stood, pale hands briefly surfacing from the marsh, then vanishing. One man swore he saw a lantern bobbing in the darkness, just out of reach, and followed it for miles until the earth gave way beneath him. He barely escaped with his life. His voice trembled as he told of a woman in the water who tried to hold him under, not violently but gently. Like a lover, he said, who didn't want to be alone anymore. And then, there are those who are simply gone, hikers, soldiers, children, lovers. Their names remain, but their stories end with the same silence, the kind of silence the marsh keeps well. These are the echoes of the Blautmyr, not tales of old but warnings for the living. For every light in the fog may not lead home, every voice may not be what it seems, and every step into the marsh may be your last. The Blautmyr are more than ghost stories whispered to frighten children. They are symbols, dark reflections of the human soul, soaked in sorrow and bound to forgotten ground. In Norse cosmology, the land itself was alive with spirit. Mountains were ancient, rivers remembered, trees listened, and the marsh was a memory that never faded. A sacred, suffocating threshold between worlds. Not quite land, not quite water, not quite dead, not fully alive. The Blautmyr embodies what the living try hardest to forget. The guilt of abandonment, the weight of injustice, the fear of being left behind, and the rage of being erased. They are not evil in the traditional sense. They are leftovers of people, pain, and promises never fulfilled. To the Norse, dying without a proper ritual was a tragedy worse than death itself. Those denied fire or stone, burial or blessing, were thought to remain tethered to the place they perished. They became vara, lingering spirits. The Blautmyr may be the most tragic of them all. Not honored like fallen warriors, not feared like gods of vengeance, but ignored, forgotten. Their pain festers, their grief mutates, and the marsh becomes not just a place, but a womb of sorrow, constantly birthing new spirits from the traumas of the past. The marsh is a mirror, not of the sky or the stars, but of what lies beneath us and within. Our suppressed memories, our deepest regrets, our betrayals of others, and of ourselves. Step too far from the path, and you step not into wilderness, but into the forgotten corners of your own soul. The Blautmyr is a reminder that not all wounds are visible, that not all who vanish are gone, and that some places, like some memories, are best approached with reverence, or not at all. So beware the marsh, not just for what walks within it, but for what it reflects. Some things were buried for a reason, and some paths are never meant to be walked alone. Though the name Blautmyr is rarely uttered outside ancient Norse whispers, its essence endures, rippling through centuries of Scandinavian folklore like a chill beneath the skin. Unlike the widely known Draugr, revenant warriors who walk the earth in rotting flesh, or the Alfar, ethereal elves with their own realms and rules, the Blautmyr exists in between. Not quite myth, not quite memory. A ghost tied not to lineage or legend, but to place, to soil, to water, to sorrow. Its spiritual descendants appear under many names across Nordic lands. The Mylingar, phantom children, born in secret and buried in shame, whose cries haunt the woods and wetlands. The Nuk or Nekken, shape-shifting water spirits, seductive and musical, who lure victims into rivers with song. The Mirafruar, or marsh maidens, tragic and beautiful, wading barefoot in bogs to draw wanderers under. Each of these beings reflects the same ancient warning, that water, especially still water, is never truly empty, that the land remembers those we try to forget. In folk songs and fairy tales, these spirits took new forms, but their behaviors remained chillingly familiar. Whispering your name from the fog, appearing as someone you've lost, crying softly in the distance, always just out of reach. These weren't simply scary bedtime stories. They were moral anchors, reminders of how the living should honor the dead, and how carelessness in life could birth consequences in death. Even today, in the vast open spaces of Norway, Sweden, Iceland, and beyond, the wetlands retain their uneasy silence. Hikers speak of a strange stillness that settles like a second skin when they stray too far from marked trails. A fog that rolls in without warning, of sensations, being watched, not being alone, being led somewhere they didn't intend to go. Some scoff, others walk faster. The marsh is no longer feared as it once was, but it is still respected. Because deep down, the people of the North have never truly forgotten what lives in their land. They know that spirits can take root in the soil, and that sorrow, once buried, does not stay silent forever. The Blautmyr may have faded from sagas, but in the hush of the marshlands, in the reflection of still water, in the feeling of footsteps behind you where none should be, they remain. So, if you ever find yourself near the edge of the marsh, and the mist begins to thicken, and the air grows still, listen. You may hear something faint, a lullaby you once knew, a voice that sounds too familiar, a name whispered on the wind. Do not answer, do not follow, stay on the path, keep your eyes forward, no matter what you see or think you see, do not chase the light. Because the Blautmyr is always waiting, in the reeds, in the water, in the spaces between silence and memory. It doesn't shriek, it doesn't rage, It calls you gently, like an old friend welcoming you home. But beneath that calm surface lies something ancient, something grieving, something hungry. The bog remembers what the world has forgotten, and the dead do not like to be ignored. They were abandoned once, now they wait for you. So beware the whisper beneath the fog, because once you step off the path, you may never walk back.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.